Our guest today is the creator, founder, and chairman of WRAPPORTS, the owner of the Chicago Sun-Times, dozens of newspapers and digital products that cover the city's suburbs, and the Chicago Reader. He brought together some of the most respected deal makers for the transaction. Our guest today is a technologist, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. He graduated from Naperville North High School and the University of Illinois at Chicago with a psychology degree. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Ferro. Michael? All right, thank you. All right, have some fun up here.
So is this all working? Great. Well, thank you, Jay, for having me at the club. It's my first time here. It's very nice. The food was great. I like the fried zucchini. It was very good. So when we begin, you know, it's a funny thing. So most people who know me, and a lot of the other journalists in the room know, I am not the most media-friendly person for the last decade. In fact, I've not given an interview or done many public engagements in about 12 years. This is my first. Jay kept calling, kept emailing, kept calling. So would you do it? And today you're actually going to be hearing the Sun-Times strategy and me actually speaking. I know there's been a lot written about me, but I've not talked to anyone yet. So today Jay got me on the hook, and so we're going to tell you what we're doing. In fact, later today, the Sun-Times employees will hear what we're doing too, so we'll be giving them this same presentation, and it will be appearing in the newspaper tomorrow. So you really are getting this first and foremost. So there you go, Jay. You did. So the only thing, that's how most people know me, glasses, and you notice I did shave the goatee. That's my whole disguise, and so today I'm goatee free. I'm not sure when it's coming back. I grew my goatee the day I bought the Sun-Times, so most of you know that was Christmas Day. So how the heck, you know, it's kind of weird. You can go to the next slide, thanks. I'm standing here in front of you right now as the chairman of the #1 daily newspaper in Chicago, jumping up in circulation numbers, and how the heck did this even happen? So let me explain. So there's supposed to be a little sounding where the phone goes ring. So I get a phone call, and this phone call is from John Canning. This is last summer. By the way, that's John's actual phone that he uses. So John Canning said, Michael, I want to put a group together and buy the Chicago Sun-Times. I think it's important to have two newspapers. So most of you know, John also was one of the founders and also had the same phone call a few years earlier for the Chicago News Cooperative. So John Canning really cares about the idea that there needs to be journalism and many different voices. So he called me up, and I didn't know I was interested in investing in a newspaper, but obviously I was after John called me. Because at first I was a little amazed by the call, but then, you know, there's a reason John Canning, who's one of my greatest mentors for over the last 10 years, has been advising me. There's a reason he's so successful, because when he calls you, it doesn't take you very long to say, yes, sir, I'll take a look at this. Now, when I started taking a look at this, the first part was, you know, you look at all these newspaper wraps. This is where you'll start seeing how our name came to be. And I knew nothing about this part of the business. But this was the first part of the business to look at. There's all these titles. In fact, we have over 40 titles at the Sun-Times Media Group, and we'll be talking about the Reader in a little bit today. But then there was the other part, the portals. And that I do understand. If anyone knows my background, I am a technologist, and I've been building portals since there was a time to build them on the internet in the mid-90s. And we had all these properties. And so thus, WRAPPORTS was born. And the idea behind WRAP and Ports was, how do we have good rapport between both the traditional publishing business and the new digital medium that is here already, and how do we make it work together? 700, that's an important number. I was asked this by Mr. Donovan earlier. How the heck do you know what you're going to do? What's the plan? Well, for most of you who've read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, it's 10,000 hours till you become an expert at something. I'm 700 hours into it right now. So 9,300 hours to go. So you should take that as you will of anything I tell you today. So I'm not even at 10% of the knowledge. But the one thing I have learned in my first 700 hours of working with these journalists who, when you see them, you don't realize that they're actually superheroes because somehow every day they produce 70 or 80 pages of content. Every day it shows up still. It's just amazing. That's right. Give it up. But the one thing is this idea of figuring out how do you get people to pay 2 bits a day for your content, for your product. Now, for you young people, that's a quarter. That's why the quarter's up there. And Mark Zuckerberg's having this issue right now. In fact, most people believe Mark solved that. If you look at Mark Zuckerberg's market cap, let's just call it $100 billion round up here, a billion users, right? If you take 25 cents a day, you'd be like it's about an $80 billion business, thus the market cap. So Mark has to figure out how to deliver on that. We have to figure out, how do we get you to pay us? How do we give you enough for your luxury item of 25 cents a day? What can we deliver to you? So let's talk about how we're going to try to do it. So there's 3 words that have been reported that are correct because they're all over the Sun-Times as we're building our brand internally first, which is we want to be credible, colorful, and charitable. So let's take a look at, first of all, what does credible mean? Let's start with credible. Now, by the way, a lot of people think because they're all C's, it's because of John Canning. That is true. Everything's a C in our world. But credible is interesting. At the first board meeting a week after we acquired the Sun-Times, all of these people unanimously, Bruce Sagan, I don't know if he's here, but one of the legends of the news industry, Bo Wrigley, Michael Sachs, John Canning, they all said the same thing when we went around the first meeting. We want to make sure we have a credible institution. We need to be credible. No one talked about money. No one talked about how we're going to make money. What's our exit strategy? Just, we want this to be credible. So the board was the one who gave us our first tenet. And so, interesting enough, everybody says, well, why'd you buy this or invest in this? I go, well, I always give John Canning a lot of credit, but he's only half the reason. During the process, talk about serendipity, I'd keep meeting individuals after John sent me on my path, and everyone would say to me who knew a little bit about media, they go, do you know Tim Knight? And then I'll be like, do you know Tim Knight? Do you know Tim Knight? I was always saying, no, I don't know who Tim Knight is. And they're like, you need to meet Tim Knight. So finally, I called Tim Knight. Now, a lot of you know Tim Knight in the room. At the time, Tim was actually building digital portals and being a CEO of a new tech company to go build these portals. So I called Tim to tell him what I'm doing, and he comes over to meet me in, I think it was July or August, Tim, right around that time frame. And Tim came over, and I showed him my PowerPoint presentation I wanted to do. He showed me his PowerPoint presentation, and the presentations were eerily similar of where we thought things were going. And from that point on, once Tim said he would come and do this, so everyone knows, it is Tim Knight who did this transaction. It was John Canning who engaged. It was Tim Knight. Without Tim Knight, I would not have done this. So first John, then Tim. So I think thank you, Tim. We'll see how this goes today. But after Tim talking about credible, I would like to say one thing for the record. I called and called everybody, and so did some of my other mentors, trying to find something wrong with Tim. Well, I have a lot of mentors like that who wanted to find something wrong. They called Tribune guys, Mr. Madigan. What do you know about Tim Knight? This guy, everyone loved Tim Knight. People who worked for Tim, people Tim worked for. So we were really lucky. And Tim had just been finishing running Newsday and was in Chicago. Talk about unbelievable that we had one of our guys back. Now the next thing, Tim and I get together and we say, listen, this credible thing's important. And this same new guy's name keeps up. Tim brings the name up to me. Other people are like, Jim Kirk, Jim Kirk, Jim Kirk. And I'm like, okay, let's meet Jim Kirk. And boy, Jim Kirk, he wasn't really that interested in meeting me the first time. I'll tell you what, I remember our first meeting. I don't know if it was not quite love at first sight, but we're getting there. There's a lot of bad things going on at that other place. And so Jim, we convinced Jim what we want to do, and we want Jim. So then we get Jim Kirk. Now on top of this, as you heard John Canny and I think I saw some, I don't know if Michael Sachs in the room, but a lot of the guys who put the Sun-Times deal together were also Chicago News Cooperative guys, where we were trying our darndest to fund it, and the Chicago News Cooperative could not keep up the funding, and we even helped them at the end. But what we have been doing is we've been hiring people from the Chicago News Cooperative to come work on with us. And I saw Andy Shaw here today. Did I see you, Andy? Is Andy Shaw here? Hey, Andy. And recently, most people may not know us, but we are the partner. We publish and help support the Better Government Association to bring their great investigative reporting. And just for anybody who says we're not doing this because we are the best, sorry, Tribune, city investigators. Let's go to the next slide here. We've never stopped with the headlines. Nothing has stopped the last 6 months. In fact, we've been increasing it. And our editorial staff and our reporters have been told nothing other than go continue on and give them support. And that's what we're going to continue to do. So we feel like we have the credible part now and going forward. Now, colorful. Colorful, you've heard a lot about. I've read it myself. And, you know, that's where we were. And this is where the literal translation of colorful comes in. So, you know, Michael Sneed's column looks more colorful. She's even better looking in person. She's right over there somewhere. Where are you, Michael? There you are. There's Michael. And I have to tell you, I go see people when they buy a paper out of a box or they have one. I ask them, sports is number one for men. But the second answer I always hear, why do you buy the Chicago Sun-Times? Michael Sneed. Love her, hate her, you all want to read her. So, and we made her bigger and better than ever. So that's true. We are colorful. Bill's more colorful. But one of the things I came to do, and why John called me, is that we need to have a great digital strategy. And one of our number one investments that we're doing right now is we need to get to a tablet. And we don't really have a tablet out other than the Kindle and Nook, which is doing quite well, which has helped us with subscribers, but it's a very simplistic product. We've been working on how do we get a great user interface. And thus, the great debate of me and the New York Post. So this is an actual cover from May 22nd of the New York Post. That's their actual cover. So I want, for the record, to tell you today, I've read the New York Post in print twice. And Tim Knight's the one who gave them to me, by the way. It was Tim Knight had them twice. I do read the New York Post online, and the reason I like the New York Post is not for the content of rack and ruin, because I believe if we went that way in Chicago, that would be our headline. But if you go to the next page, is that we're the Chicago Sun-Times. We have a lot of things that we're going to do that we want to be the Chicago Sun-Times. We do like their user interfaces. We like their galleries. How many people have looked at the New York Post online? Admit it. Come on, how many of you done it? There's a lot more. People at my table are complaining they don't get it. The Post, it's that they're good. They've spent tens of millions of dollars on building a great user experience. So they know how to do galleries. They know how to do ads. They know how to make it so that the font is right and the type size is right. They're really good at that. But that's all I like about the Post. I don't read the Post. So what's our strategy in colorful? Well, you're going to hear this first today. We've been working on this for a while. Starting this fall, we're going to be having our own Money Mondays magazine. It's going to be full color. It's going to be something different you've never seen in Chicago. It's going to be a little irreverent. It's going to spotlight businesses in a way, but we're going to have things you've never seen done before in business in the country that we're going to be starting. It's a whole new company we put inside. It will be distributed on Mondays, but I'll have everything from workshops to CEO makeovers and lots of surprises that it'll be pretty cool to see. But we want it to be a must-read on Mondays. Now, on Colorful that we're already doing today on a daily basis, you may have already started noticing Game Face. Has anybody seen Game Face, where every day we take a full-color ad on page 3, full-color page on page 3 of sports, and we don't feature the players, we feature the people in the game. You know, Chicago fans, like there's Common, there's Hillary Clinton at Wrigley Field. If you go to the next one, the bugler from Arlington Racetrack, who was bugling at the Kentucky Derby, you know, he got the honor of doing that, to the last day Kerry Wood, that's his son Justin hugging him on the mountain. This has gotten so popular so fast that we're already going to be making this an annual book from the whole years of photos that we're doing in captions. Another thing we're announcing today that you will see Monday, starting Monday Memorial Day, is that we went, and this was why I personally took this one on, I'll say, to go find all the beautiful people from Chicago who are famous and call them all up and recruit them, that we've recruited 30 celebrity Chicagoans to write a column once a month, so that every day we're going to be introducing the Daily Splash, where people from Jennifer Hudson to Jim Belushi to our mayor are going to be writing a column. These are all new Sun-Times columnists that appear. And to make this pop and work, we recruited Susanna Homan from Michigan Avenue magazine, I know she's here somewhere, who's coming on to be our editor of this, and some other products we're going to talk to you about later. But this starts on Monday with Gary Sinise on Memorial Day. He will be our first Daily Splash on Monday, so make sure you get that copy. Now, also on Colorful, we just announced an investment in High School Cube. And High School Cube is really cool. So what this allows us to do, it already works in Chicago. This is a local to global initiative we're doing where we get to cover high school sports that can already be used to watch your kids playing in different high school games and all types of sports around Chicagoland area. And we just made a large investment. And this is now a new WRAPPORTS company. And this content will be available both in print and digital in the coming weeks at the Sun-Times. Now, Fridays are never going to be the same in the Chicagoland area. We did buy the Reader. It was announced yesterday. And yeah, Reader people, where are they? Cool. Hey, guys. It is the coolest alternative paper in the country. Now it's part of us. And we are still planning on leaving it completely irreverent and R-rated on Thursday. So on Thursdays, you can go to the yellow box, get it. But we're also going to be having people say if they like it on Fridays. So now all the people like myself who grew up using the Reader decide what we were going to do. It basically told us where to go and what to do on the weekends. Now suddenly you are going to be able to get that from Naperville to Lake Forest so that you can have a little bit of nostalgia and be cool again for all those 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds who all grew up with the Reader. Now they can get the Reader again. So we're excited about Friday. Now Sunday. We do have an issue at the Sun-Times. We've been doing great on the dailies, but we need to fix Sundays. So Sundays is a great room for improvement. And so we have a simple 3-tier thing for Sundays. Also still all colorful things. So the 3 things we're going to start offering Sundays in the fall, some this summer, is first one is we're going to be introducing Sportspalooza magazine on Sundays. And what this is going to be is a weekly roundup. Think of it as a sports almanac of Chicagoland, where it has both pro rankings, college rankings, high school rankings for the whole Chicagoland to Northwest Indiana area. So that every Saturday, both print and digital, you're going to be able to find out how are the power rankings for my kids in field hockey to football. That's the plan that we're doing for Sundays because we do have the best sports in the country, and we definitely want to keep pushing that. The other thing we're going to be doing on Sundays is the Splash. So among Susanna's other duties is we're going to be launching a product this summer that on every Sunday you're going to be having a weekly wrap-up of all the events that we covered. So then instead of waiting months to see the society events, we're going to have them all in one place, all the gossip, all the fashion, on Sundays in the Sun-Times. Lastly, so we have the Sportspalooza. There's going to be a surprise. I'm not going to tell you what it is. But every Sunday when you open up the Sun-Times, it's going to be, you never know what you're going to get. You never know what you're going to get, but you're going to start getting a surprise later this summer, every Sunday in the Sun-Times. So what's the goal? It's really simple. We're saying publicly, we want to increase it by 100,000 subscribers in the next 24 months. Is what we're doing for Sundays. That's why we're doing this. Because we want to make sure, we started out with 2 bits a day, which we'll talk about again, but for 25 cents a day, you actually get the Sunday paper, which we want to make sure it's a great experience that everybody wants to have. So we talked about credible, we talked about colorful. Let's talk about charitable. So what do we mean by charitable? So we do believe our institution, as being one of the institutions in Chicago, that's our responsibility to figure out how can we work with the community because of the outreach we have. So the first thing we're doing is you start seeing this now, and we're getting better at this as days go on, is that every day we're trying to focus on a cause or an event that people call us up with, that we go find, to tell our readers what's going on, to help engage them and find out what they're passionate about and what matters to them, and help them connect to these different organizations and causes. Also, we're announcing today that the WRAPPORTS board, the WRAPPORTS founding investors, and a lot of other civic leaders have just put together the Sun Times Foundation at the Chicago Community Trust. This is a multi-million-dollar foundation. The reason we're partnering with the Chicago Community Trust is, hopefully you all know, they're the second oldest trust in the world. They service over 2,000 charities in Chicago. They have over 1,000 funds they manage. This is the best foundation in the world, and it happens to be in our city. So they are going to be managing these funds, and our goal of the foundation, it's really simple. As we start getting people connected, and this is all available in the coming weeks, is that organizations can go online if we want to feature them or talk about them, that we're going to be having matching gift programs for all different, that us and the partnership in many occasions with the Community Trust will be matching large dollar amounts, small dollar amounts, depending on what that organization's needs are. So this will all be launching, this is actually launching now. And so in the coming days, we'll be doing announcements on this so people can go start applying for getting the funds. So credible, colorful, charitable. Pretty simple, 3 words. If we do this, we have 2 goals for ourselves and for you in Chicago. And that's, first of all, we're building up this company, WRAPPORTS, that we want to be able to start bringing in technology companies and innovators where we're both building and buying all types of software and digital plays right now. Some we haven't even talked about yet today. So that's number 1. Number 2 that you're all going to be very interested in is that we have a simple goal. Jim Kirk, Tim Knight, and I, and the rest of the team, we want to become the #1 local newspaper in the U.S. We can do it. It's not buying the Tribune, by the way. I know that's all you're saying. We're not talking about buying the Tribune. We're doing it without touching the Tribune. And how do we do it? Well, right now we're ranked 9, and we have a few spots to go. But we think we can get there right below the Times, which is really a national paper, as you all know. And that is our goal internally. That is what we're working towards every day. How do we get there? How do we do that? How do we stay relevant for subscribers and advertisers? And we have to do this by making sure we deliver a product that you're willing to pay 25 cents a day for. Now, by the way, I'm going to start you out. On your tables, did you all see those cards? So those cards, those are really special cards, by the way. Those are just friend and family cards. We just put this up this morning for you, is that's you get a half a year, sometimes 6 months for $1 a week delivered to your home, everything. In fact, I put a quarter on there. I'm buying your first issues on me. So I even try to help you out there on the first 2 bits. Lastly, the reason I did do this, Jay, thank you for having me, is that I looked at this as a recruiting lunch. I've already talked to a lot of you in this room. You know who you are. We're recruiting at the Sun-Times. We want to build up our business magazine, our society magazine, our sports section, our investigative reporting. We have a long way to go. We're building portals both locally, nationally, and globally. We are actually putting the for hire sign out nationally and locally. We want the best and the brightest in Chicago. We need you. That is my phone number, reporters. Call it. That is my direct line. That is my email address. Use it. We want you if you're good. We want you. We need you. And we're excited to make sure Chicago has a very relevant, cool newspaper media organization. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Young Ginny's here if you have a question. We have to start with this one because we have so many heavy hitters here. John McCarter, where are you? I didn't see you. Oh, we're right in front, yes. Since your sometime investment, Warren Buffett has resumed his investments in newspapers. Is he following your leadership?
He's making them more expensive. That's what he's doing. No, I think Warren, I would just love to even being mentioned in the same sentence with Warren is really cool. I think Warren sees the same thing I do. Right now, the properties are really at the right price where you can actually make money and do good at the same time, which I know is something Warren does care about nowadays. And so do we. So I think that is good. But no, I don't think there's anything, no, there's no relationship there.
I'm impressed you call him Warren. That's
Yeah.
just so we were all clear on that. That speaks volumes. All right, we have two questions concerning the business section. One from the infamous Dan Miller and from Barbara Crummel. Barbara, where are you? I see you, way back there. Okay. Deal with the business section. Dan wants to know what is the future of the business section, and Barbara wanted to know about the business section following horoscopes, obits, and classifieds.
So two things. I think I answered your first question with the Money Mondays that's coming, and that will also be daily. So we're going to be increasing the business section exponentially, but it has to be different than what you get today. The reason it follows is that some people don't realize this, but the way our newspaper is read, it's read two different ways. A lot of men read our newspaper, we're actually going to be renumbering it in the future, is that we actually have 2-page ones. So a lot of people start by reading sports, and they go that way. So it goes sports and then money. If you understand, that's a way, there's a big part of our readership that's all they do. And the other part of the readership starts at the front. Digitally, this will make much more sense, because digitally we're going to allow people to just start at sports, and then you will go sports, and then money is the second section. So we're actually going to be renumbering the pages in the future, so that there'll be a sports page 1, and Game Face is actually sports page 3, but that's why it's where it is. It also has to do with color and printing, because we were trying to get color onto the money sections. And the way the printing process works, believe it or not, is placement of the pages. But that's the reason of why it's at, but it's going to get a lot bigger.
Sort of emulating the Jerusalem Post. That's you got it. Sorry, Mike.
That's okay.
What do you expect? What do you expect?
Sorry.
Okay. Ellen F. Where are you, Ellen F? There you are. Okay. You answered this, but you can hit it again. Is your goal to be the next New York Post here in Chicago? But a compliment. I love the edgy headlines.
Yeah, no, we want to be the Chicago Sun-Times and have people not have to buy the New York Post anymore. So that we need to be adding the things that make the New York Post great, which are, it's their online that's growing, which are the galleries in their sports section, when you can add all those photos from each game and have live motion video and all those things, including it makes for such a great experience. And we can do a lot of things they're doing and start giving that to you in a digital fashion in weeks to come.
Good. Final question. This is from Janita Robinson. Janita, where are you? Yes. Well, you asked a question. That means next time you'll be closer.
She's over there. I see her.
She made the room. She made the room. Is it important to have two newspapers making political endorsements? You didn't. That's a good question.
Well, my new publisher sat me down and explained to me why he doesn't think any newspapers should be endorsing any candidates anymore, and I agreed with him, and so did our board of directors, and we've had more conversations about our decision that we still want to question and tell you our views of what politicians are doing and make sure we shine a light on both the good and the bad. But we think in today's day and age that people have all the information. Our job should be to report and be independent and not start being biased, because when you start endorsing the politicians, you have skin in the game of what happens with them, and we don't want that. We want to be completely independent.
Leave the controversial answer for last. That's good. How about a big round of applause for Michael?
Thank you.
We got parting gifts.
Parting gifts.